Now we turn to AIG and the head of the company, Martin Sullivan, under Wall Street's spotlight today. He's wrapping up a meeting with investors just a short while ago as doubts grow about his leadership at the insurance giant. Mary Thompson's live at AIG's meeting in New York with details. Mary?
Hey there, Sue. You know, Sullivan did receive a vote of confidence today from the insurance giant's chairman, Bob Willemstad. Speaking to reporters after the meeting, Willemstad called Sullivan the right man for the job. Still in the wake of the company's record $7.8 billion first quarter loss and its only 2 consecutive quarterly losses in its more than 40-year history, shareholders weren't so supportive.
There should have been more fireworks. I'm very disappointed at this meeting.
I didn't come away with a strong feeling that this management team can correct this.
I think we should look into some of the people who aren't doing the job as well as they should and maybe make changes.
Now, since Sullivan took the helm 3 years ago, the stock is off 26%. Recently, the Dow component's been hurt by structured products linked to the U.S. housing market, as well as a weaker pricing environment for its key property and casualty business. The poor performance prompting AIG's former CEO, Hank Greenberg, to say the company is in a crisis, with Greenberg questioning, among other things, what he described as a lack of expense discipline at the firm. Still, Sullivan fired back at these charges today, saying added hires in compliance, accounting, and other areas had to be made when he took over from Greenberg, who left because of an accounting scandal.
Clearly emanating out of the circumstances surrounding 2005, we have had to make substantial investments in ops and systems to upgrade our systems, obviously, around the world and have projects in place to do so.
Sullivan told shareholders while he was unhappy with the company's performance, he is not discouraged. And those comments were echoed by Willemstad, who opened the meeting, saying that the board's decision to raise the company's dividend is a reflection of the board's optimism about the company's future. Sue and Bill, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mary. Well, CNBC's Charlie Gasparino has been following the story very closely. He joins us from New York with what he's hearing about Mr. Sullivan's future. And Dennis and Michelle are with me as well. Charlie?
Vote of confidence, right? Well, I mean, I think the board of directors basically of AIG basically has Martin Sullivan on a very short leash. At least that's what I'm getting from sources with knowledge of what the board is thinking. He's on a short leash. What that means is that he's not gone imminent. He's not going to go imminently. He has maybe one more screw up left. And here are the 3 reasons why he's not going in imminently. Number 1, they need his experience because to execute the business plan, because they just raised capital. They've raised a lot of capital. Immediately, you have to execute this business plan. Number 2, there is no good replacement. The bottom line is when you separate the CEO function from the chairman function, which is what you have at AIG, you can't convince a guy like Larry Fink over at BlackRock, a top guy, essentially to take that job. A big time player, which is what the market would demand, would want both of those jobs, and they can't get that. Number 3 is the Greenberg factor, essentially admitting that blowing Sullivan out would be admitting that Hank Greenberg, who has lawsuits against AIG over its management, over him getting fired a couple years ago, over the fact that he believes the management is up for the job, would essentially be saying that Greenberg is right. I mean, Dennis will remember this because he edited the piece. We did this I did a Forbes profile on Greenberg where he takes a shot at Martin Sullivan, saying he's Irish and he's good with brokers.
And he's not Irish.
Right. He's not Irish, and he may be good with brokers. The question is that if they blow him out now, they're essentially saying Greenberg is right, and that opens up a whole legal can of worms.
All right, Dennis, what about that? And Mary's with us as well. And Mary, I have a comment for you in just a second.
Charlie's a much better expert on this company than I am, but it just seems to me that other CEOs have been given the gate for far less. And I still don't understand, Mary, did this come up at your meeting at all? To raise the dividend 10% when the company clearly is in trouble. You know, when Citigroup cut its dividend 40%, it's still having to pay out $6 billion a year, and then it goes out and raises about that much in capital here and there. Did anybody get upset about the dividend increase, or shareholders just wanting a bigger check?
No, there was nothing that I heard that had shareholders expressing any concern about the dividend. And as far as the capital raising goes, Sullivan was explaining that they took advantage of the market conditions basically to reinforce the company's fortress balance sheet. Now, take it for what it is. But again, Willemstad saying that the dividend increase, again, which would be questionable at a time when you have to raise capital, was a reflection that they are optimistic about what the company can do once they get these write-downs behind them. They're linked to the credit default swaps.
Charlie, you're spot on. What I'm surprised about in all of this is how
Martin Sullivan and AIG has let Hank Greenberg control this conversation and this discussion and this agenda.
You know,
he's the one out there all the time, and where are these guys?
Well, Michelle, first off, he is the largest shareholder, so he does. Remember, through CV Star, that's the company he still controls, and we don't have enough time to explain what CV Star has to do with AIG. He is the largest. He's the largest. He's the largest shareholder, and the problem that they have is that this is in lawsuits. This is mired in lawsuits, and Hank Greenberg has everything to gain by attacking him, and they have everything to lose by attacking him back. They essentially lower themselves to their level.
There's basically a muzzle on them, which plays right into Hank Greenberg's
guys.
Well,
you know, here's the thing. Explaining what their vision of the company is and what their business model is for moving forward.
But here's the problem. Hank Greenberg, if you look at it just by the facts, is right on a lot of this stuff. The company right now is not the company that he created. It's a lot more bureaucratic. It's bureaucratic because they signed all these agreements with Spitzer, all these sort of settlements with the SEC, with Spitzer when he was AIG, that dealt with that accounting scandal that did occur under Greenberg's watch. Greenberg says there was no scandal, that they made a mountain out of a molehill, but that's the problem that AIG has right now. They are a much different firm than when Greenberg was there, and yes, they got involved in the subprime mess that is hurting profits. So Greenberg sounds right now, and let me tell you one other thing. Investors like Hank Greenberg. There's no doubt about that.
If you were a prosecutor, you'd shoot the messenger.
Viewers on something. The CV Star, fascinating little separate subsidiary. And over the years, Hank Greenberg, when he ran AIG, he pushed millions of shares into CV Star as a vehicle to give compensation to executives. And the company didn't realize when they got rid of him that, oh my gosh, those shares now are controlled by our new enemy. And that lawsuit's pending, right, Charlie? What's happened to that lawsuit so far?
Well, there's all sorts of cross claims right now on that. And what's really interesting is Hank Greenberg can really hurt AIG two ways: by controlling those shares and being an advocate for shareholders, which he's trying to be right now. But not only that, suppose he starts dumping the shares. Right. Where does the price go?
Right. Hey, Mary, sorry, I didn't mean to step on you. Go ahead, Mary.
No, I was just going to say I think the company was fully aware of what he controlled. Right now he controls about 13% of the company's stock between CV Star and his own personal holdings as well. And I remember at the time that they got rid of him, they were fully aware of what kind of control he would have, again, through his holdings of AIG stock.
You know, Mary, I wonder if they really were fully aware, because when I did that Forbes story, what was really interesting is just how out of touch they were with the fact that this guy, they wanted him to give back that stock. They brought him to court to give it back, and basically they haven't been able to. So it makes you think that if they had no clue just how tough of an adversary this guy was going to be.
Yeah. Vindictive.
Yeah.
I think anyone who worked for him would know how tough of an adversary he would be.
Well, he's still there. Let me tell you something. He's still there.
Anyway.
He's still there, and he's roasting them daily.
But if you were a prosecutor, you would shoot them. You would complain about the convictions of this witness and how he's conflicted. I mean, it's
right. I think AIG. I think what AIG believed was that Hank Greenberg was either going to get charged. I mean, I know this for a fact. They believed he was going to get charged civilly, and that was one way to get the money back. And listen, he got charged civilly, but he's fighting both that and a criminal case, obviously, that could come if one of these guys turn evidence.
It's another book for Charlie or for Dennis. That's what it is.
I say Charlie.
Thank you.
He works harder than I do.